Hello, guys. It is time for us to start literacy. Here today, we are going to be working on slides 6 through 9 today. So make sure that you have opened up your student packet. We're going to start with the chapter colors. There are some longer chapters today and some shorter ones. So some of these I'm going to read and then we'll stop, and some of them I'm going to read a couple and then we'll go back and answer questions. All right, guys, we're going to start with colors. So as a quick recap, at the end of the last chapter, Julia lets her dad know that she's doing homework for art class, and the homework that she's doing is watercolor. She wants to paint Ruby. We also know that last time we kind of learned more about what was going on with Mac trying to force force Ruby to go ahead and do those tricks. And Ruby kind of retaliated, smacked him, down low with her trunk. So let's find out what happens next. Colors. Julia opens the metal box. I see a row of little squares. Green, blue, red, black, yellow, purple, orange. The colors seem to glow. She pulls out a brush with a thin tuft of a tail at its end. She dips the brush in the water and wets the paper, then taps at the red square. When the brush meets the damp paper, pink petals of color unfurl like morning flowers. I can't take my eyes off that magical brush. For a moment, I'm not thinking about Ruby and Mac and the claw stick and Stella. Almost. Julia touches red again, and then blue, and there suddenly is a purple of ripe grape. She touches the blue, and her paper turns to summer sky, black and white, and now I see that she is painting a picture of Ruby. I can make out her floppy ears, her thick legs. Julia stops painting. She takes a few steps back, hands on her hips, gazing at her work. She scowls. It's not right, she says. She glances over her shoulder at me. I try to look encouraging. Julia starts to crumple up the paper, then reconsiders. Instead, she slides it into my cage at the spot where my glass is broken. Here you go, she says, a Julia original. That'll be worth millions some days. Gingerly, I pick up the paper. I do not eat a single bite of it. Hey, I almost forgot. Julia runs to her backpack. She pulls out 3 plastic jars. 1 yellow, 1 blue, 1 red. She opens the jars, and an odd, not food smell hits my nose. Julia pushes the jars one by one through the opening. Then she slides some paper through. These are called finger paints, she says. My aunt gave them to me, but really I am too old for finger painting. I stick a finger into the red jar. The paint is thick as mud. It's cool and smooth like bananas underfoot. I pop my finger into my mouth. It's not exactly ripe mango, but it's not bad. Julia laughs. You don't eat it, you paint with it. She grabs a piece of paper and presses her fingers on it. See, like this. I place my finger on a piece of paper. I lift it, and a red mark is there. I get a bigger glob from the pot and slap my hand down on the page. When I pull my hand off the paper, its red twin stays behind. This isn't like the ghostly handprints on my glass, the ones my visitors leave behind. This handprint can't be so easily wiped away. Here we can see Yvonne's handprint. What feeling do you guys think Yvonne has while touching and using the finger paint? Think about what he compares the finger paint to. I'm going to find our vocab word, which is unfurl for you. If I can find it. Unfurl. Unfurl, to make or become spread out from a rolled or folded state. Make or become spread out from a rolled or folded state. So go ahead and answer your question here. And then we'll be good to move forward. If you guys still need time to type your stuff in, pause here. I'm going to read our next chapter. A bad dream. I lie awake, peeling dried red paint off my fingertips. Bob, who accidentally walked on one of my paintings, is licking his red paws. Every so often, I glance over at the empty ring. The claw stick glints in the moonlight. Stop! No! Ruby's frantic cries startle me. Ruby, I call, you're having a bad dream. You're okay. You're safe. Where's Stella? She asks, gulping air. Before I can answer, she says, Never mind. I remember now. Go back to sleep, Ruby, I say. You've had a hard day. I can't go back to sleep, she says. I'm afraid I'll have the same dream. There was a sharp stick, and it hurt. I look at Bob, and he looks back at me. Oh, Ruby says. Oh, Mac. She puts her trunk between the bars. Do you think... She hesitates. Do you think Mac is mad because I hurt him today? I consider lying, but gorillas are terrible liars. Probably, I finally say. He ran away after that, Ruby says. Excuse my yawn. Bob gives a scornful laugh. Crawled away is more like it. We are quiet for a while. Branches claw at the roof. A light rain drums. One of the parrots murmurs something in her sleep. Ruby breaks the silence. Yvonne, I smell something funny. He can't help it, Bob says. I believe she's referring to the finger paints Julia gave me, I say. What are finger paints? Ruby asks. You make pictures with them, I explain. Could you make a picture of me? Maybe someday. I remember Julia's picture, the one that will be worth $1 million. I hold it up to the glass. Look, it's you. Julia made it. It's hard to see, Ruby says. There's not much moonlight. Why do I have 2 trunks? I examine the picture. Those are feet. Why do I have 2 feet? That's called artistic license, Bob says. Ruby sighs. Can you tell me another story, she asks. I don't think I can ever go back to sleep. I told you all I remember, I say with a helpless shrug. Then tell me a new story, she says. Make something up. I try to think, but my thoughts keep returning to Mac and his claw stick. Anything yet? Ruby asks. I'm working on it. Vaughn, Ruby presses, Bob said you are going to save me. I search for true words. I'm working on that too. Vaughn, Ruby says, in a voice so low I can barely hear her. I have another question. I can tell from the sound of her voice that this will be a question I don't want to answer. Ruby taps her trunk against the rusty iron bars of the door. Do you think, she asks, that I'll die in this domain someday? Like Aunt Stella? Once again, I consider lying. But when I look at Ruby, the half-formed words die in my throat. Not if I can help it, I say instead. I feel something tighten in my chest, something dark and hot. And it's not a domain, I add. I pause, and then I say it. It's a cage. Our vocab word for this is scornful. Looking for it real quick. So here is scornful. Bob gives a scornful laugh. Crawled away is more like it. Scornful is feeling or expressing contempt or derision. So feeling something negative. And then let's go ahead and answer our question. So why do you think Yvonne corrects Ruby and calls it a cage instead of a domain? Remember, Yvonne has multiple times in the story excuse me, I had a ginormous yawn, has insisted on referring to it as his domain, not his cage. So why now is he changing his mind? And then our second question, do you think Yvonne will be able to change things at all? All right, if you need more time, you can go ahead and pause. I'm going to move us forward onto the story. I look at the ring layered with fresh sawdust. I look at the skylight, at the half-hidden moon. I just thought of a story, I say. Is it a made-up story or a true one? Ruby asks. True, I say. I hope. Ruby leans against the bars. Her eyes are on hold. Her eyes hold the pale moon in them, the way a still pond holds stars. Once upon a time, I say, there was a baby elephant. She was smart and brave, and she needed to go to a place called a zoo. What is a zoo? Ruby asks. A zoo, Ruby, is a place where humans make amends. A good zoo is a place where humans care for animals and keep them safe. Did the baby elephant get to the zoo? Ruby asked softly. I don't answer right away. Yes, I say at last. How did she get there? Ruby asks. She had a friend, I say. A friend who made a promise. How? It takes a long time, but finally Ruby returns to sleep. Yvonne, Bob whispers, yawning. What you said about the zoo, how are you going to do it? Suddenly, I feel as if I could sleep for 1,000 days. I don't know, I admit. You'll think of something, Bob says confidently, his voice trailing off as his eyes close. What if I don't? I ask. But Bob is already asleep. His little red feet dance, and I know he's running in his dreams. Remembering. Bob and Ruby sleep on. I don't sleep. I think about the promise I made to Stella and the pictures I've made for Ruby, and I remember. I remember it all. All right, guys, let's go ahead and answer our questions. Our question from the story is, what is Yvonne telling Ruby in the story? What is he telling her? In how? How do you think Yvonne will be able to keep his promise? Can he? And for remembering, what do you think Yvonne is going to be remembering in the next chapter? All right, guys, we are going to go ahead and I'm going to read the last 3 chapters back to back for you. What they did. We were clinging to our mother, my sister and I, when the humans killed her. They shot my father next. Then they chopped off their hands, their feet, their heads. Something else to buy. There is a cluttered, musty store near my cage. They sell an ashtray there. It is made from the hand of a gorilla. Another Yvonne. When morning comes and the parking lot glimmers with dew, I see the billboard on the highway. There I am, the one and only Yvonne, bathed in the pink light of dawn. I look so angry with my furrowed brow and clenched fists. I look the way my father did the day the men came. I am, I suppose, a peaceful sort. Mostly, I watch the world go by and I think about naps and bananas and yogurt raisins. But inside me, hidden, is another Yvonne. He could tear a grown man's limbs off his body. In the flicker of time it takes a snake's tongue to taste the air, he could taste revenge. He is the Yvonne on the billboard. I stare at the one and only Yvonne, at the fading picture of Stella, and I remember George and Mac on their ladders, adding the picture of Ruby to bring new visitors to the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade. I remember the story Ruby told, the one where the villagers came to her rescue. I hear Stella's kind, wise words. Humans can surprise you sometimes. I look at my fingers coated in red paint, the color of blood, and I know how to keep my promise. All right, guys. What they did. Why do you think Yvonne forgot what happened to his mother and his father? Why do you think he forgot that? Something else to buy. I want you to explain the chapter. And how does that make you feel? Think about what we learned in the previous chapter, and then how does it make you feel to read something else to buy? Another Yvonne. Who is the hidden Yvonne? How do you think Yvonne's plan will keep his promise? What do you think he's going to do? Use that inferencing brain here. Piece it together. Guys, that is everything for you today. Make sure that you have filled in all of your answers to your questions and that they are good, solid answers. And if you do have some more time, which you should, we do have the grammar practice. I did post this today, so it is available for you. You can start to work through the vocab words that we have worked on together. So that'll be slides 2 through, I think, 4 or 5. So 2 through 5 are what you can currently be working on. That is everything that I have for you guys today. I hope that you are doing well, and we'll go from there.